Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
I had a situation recently where someone I don't know very well brought a problem to me, and as I was listening to the Lord for her, I had the perfect answer in my experience for her. It was like she was fed a feast and put it into practice immediately, and the same result happened. That there was a great breakthrough. But God orchestrated my life for her life many years ago, and orchestrated her situation to need my particular story, which not everyone has. And it was just such a perfect matching, and that's what he sets up as authority. It's a match. And that's why we have to be sure we are in the place and under the authority he assigns. Because that's, as you say, John, that's where the provision is. And Nee describes it beautifully, because he says, the one in authority spares you having to go down the hard path if you'll get in line.
Back to being dead weight. Beyond dead weight, you're malignant, you're detrimental. And we've seen someone who came and served in rebellion, and literally everything they touched was tainted with rebellion and destruction. And it just it literally made it so that it just hurt. It hurt us. Everything turned around and bit us. Every single thing. And there was nothing that was not destructive. Even the best thing they did turned around and was detrimental.
And costly and ongoing and unending destruction to fix. Like it's been like unscrambling an egg. And so rebellion has witchcraft. Rebellion carries an evil with it. That is Satan's intention to destroy, rob, kill, and steal.
And that malignancy, John, I think that blindness is chosen, and I want to make absolutely clear that this isn't just poor me, I couldn't see. Yes, I was blind. No, my mind was completely closed because I was on the opposite end of it. And some Bible verses, they mean more than we think they mean. You know, God's black and white approach, he who is not with me is against me. He who does not gather scatters. We look at that, and we look at that very much, I think, we tend to look at that in terms of salvation, of who is born again and who isn't born again, and that's fine. That's the macro of it. But the micro is that there is a chasm between you and the world. And that blindness is chosen because the blindness is a result of saying, no, God. I will not honor you as God. I will not submit to you as God. I will not fear you as God. No. And the blindness is the result of that choice, that very singular, that very specific choice. And I made that choice, and I made that choice in the fullness of my understanding at that time for what that meant. I was raising my fist against the heavens and screaming in open rebellion. I was never under the impression I was not in rebellion against God. I was in rebellion against God. I was in rebellion against my parents. I was in rebellion against the government. I was in rebellion against anybody who had a big A on them that meant authority. And I believed in my pride that was a safe way to go. I believed that was going to be the best way to keep me from abuse. So I became the abuser, and I did it to save myself. I said, I'm going to save myself, but you don't save yourself unless you're going to join the side of the abusers. That's how it works. So you're not just saving yourself, you're picking up a knife and stabbing children in the schoolyard. That's what you're doing. That's how you're keeping yourself safe. You're killing everyone around you. You become a murderer. And that's what I did. And John's absolutely right that it's malignant, and the blindness is chosen. But I look at it, and there's such pride behind that howl of indignation that says, I can't do anything to please you. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to be satisfied with me? It's Cain. God will never be satisfied with someone in rebellion. And the truth is, someone in rebellion is really of no use to the wider world either. You're just not. You're not sufficient for the neighborhood. You're not sufficient for the home. You're not sufficient for the state, for the city. Any level, someone who is in total rebellion is going to add exactly 0 in a positive way to the people around them. And that's, our pride won't let us. Our pride says, no, that can't possibly be right. I'm a special snowflake. I'm wonderful. It is everyone else. The problem is everyone else. And I've been there too. And I've said, if they don't love me, then something's wrong with them. Because I'm awesome. Now, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the truth comes out and you're like, I'm not awesome. And they're quite right to hate me, but I can't do anything about it, right? Because you can't, apart from God. But I just want to be absolutely clear that blindness is chosen and that malignance is real. And, and all of it was because I didn't want to accept that what I was offering wasn't good enough.
That's vivid to compare it to Cain. I just want to tell you, Jennifer, that somewhere in the Amplified New Testament, it's called willful blindness.
And I wasn't using you as an example. When I was saying what I was saying, it wasn't you. So,
but it could very well.
It could. Okay, that's fine. But it would.
Are you saying I wasn't malignant, John? Come on now. If I'm okay with saying that's my testimony, and right now there are cats fighting outside, and it's getting really loud, which is appropriate. No, that's my testimony. I don't run from that. That is part of what brought me to my knees, John. When you look at people around you bleeding, unless you're a complete depraved psychopath, that's a horror. That's a day of reckoning that I don't want for anyone else, but if that's what it takes to bring in the Lord like it took for me, okay. That's my story. It's not an accusation. You're not accusing me. It's just the truth.
You said something commenting a while ago, Carol, that if an army was not of one mind, they couldn't go to war.
What you say?
Oh, I was just thinking at some point that, can you imagine being at war and nobody is under authority? It would be total and complete chaos and it would be absolute defeat. But Jen, I wanted to comment because you said you were talking about the blindness. Martha mentioned a little while ago Proverbs 30:11. There is a class of people who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers. There is a class of people who are pure in their own eyes and yet are not washed from their own filth. There is a class of people, oh, how lofty are their eyes and their raised eyelids. There is a class of people whose teeth are as swords and whose fangs as knives to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among men. It goes down to say, the eye that mocks a father and scorns to obey a mother, the ravens of the valley will pick it out, their eyes, and the young vultures will devour it. And my story is simply the reason that the process that the Lord had to take me through. My rebellion came from my rebellion toward my father. It was rebellion to God. In essence, in reality, it was rebellion. But that is who I rebelled on this earth to. And until I dealt with that rebellion to my earthly father, I would not truly submit from the heart to my heavenly Father. And so he went to great lengths to bring me to the place to see that I was blind, that the vultures had plucked out my eyes and I was blind because I was in rebellion to my earthly father. And it's a wondrous story to me, part of my history, to have had the Lord bring me to such forgiveness of my Heavenly Father that brought me into a relationship I'd never had with my Heavenly Father. And even in the last 2 weeks, the Lord has revealed something even further concerning my earthly father that has set me further free to a more intimate relationship with him and a relationship of more surrender and more obedience to him. And so what you said, Martha, that Proverbs 30, many times our rebellion and our inability, just inability, our choices not to obey originate with someone in our lives, most likely our parents, that needs to be dealt with. It's got to be dealt with before we will come to that true submission, heart submission to the Lord and to his will.
Here's the hopeful part. God is up to the task. He can get his man, and he does have a huge bowed chest, and he can make us bow, and he knows what circumstances and what situations need to transpire for us to bow and break, really. And he's very kind in doing it. He's precious in while being vicious and somewhat forceful and aggressive. It's so loving. And when you're going through it, it doesn't feel real loving. But it's painted with his love. Every bit of it just you realize that it is his love. And when I've had him confront me, and sometimes violently, it now I can sense it and see it and say, oh wow, this is so much love. It feels loving now. And maybe that's because of the bow, I don't know, but it feels loving, even the aggression.
No chastening is pleasant, but it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness. So the military is a picture of the toughness it takes to make you into a military Christian. It's a picture of how, and I was laughing about, you have to tie your shoelace left one over right one. When you were talking, I was thinking about that again. Really? Didn't it make you want to put the right lace over the left one?
But the amazing thing is those sergeants are saving your life. They are literally saving your life. Their investment into you will eventually do that.
He said by the end of his tour, his contract tour of whatever, how many years, 3 or 4 years, he said they will have invested over $1 million in me. Invested. And he saw it as an investment in him.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and LivingChristianBooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.